Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your temporary host, You Can't Be Cake. Now I'm going to pass it on to your real host, Mr. BoomStick XL.
Hey, let's go. Turn up.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for allowing my 15-year-old nephew to do the intro. He wants to be a podcaster like his Dio, and he is giddy beyond words, folks. Thank you so much. Of course, Steele, thank you so much for being as graceful as you are.
Absolutely.
He wanted to do it. He got half a day from school today, so he was with us yesterday and today. And now he's going to go play Smash Brothers. I think he's got like 3,000 hours in Smash Brothers, and he is really freaking good. But Steel Rain, brother, you missed last week. We missed you here. We have a lot of topics to get in here. So great to have you back. How you feeling?
Well, Boom, it's always good to be back in the Xbox Factor podcast where I can let the green goodness flow over me and I can go soak in the lake of Minnetonka off of the heels of playing these games, man. But for me, recently, I've been stuck in the eras of last Epoch while hell diving onto the surface to take care of these bugs. These terminids, as the council calls them. I'm doing that for democracy, and I've been getting some driving in here recently between Forza Motorsport and Assetto Course. So I'm all over the place, man. But it's wonderful to be here. Glad I was able to pull up again. Having that special room for myself in the back has been a blessing. So I appreciate you for that. But Boom, I'm glad to be here, and I'm ready to get into these topics, man. Much love.
Yeah, much love to you as well, brother, and it's great to have you here. Shout out to already our own nearly 200 people in the chat. Let's go.
Hit that like button.
That's right, man. Hit the like button while you're here early and often. Too bad you can't hit it twice, folks, because I would do it myself. Hey, Infinite Umbra, welcome to the program, my brother. How are you feeling?
I am feeling great. Super even. Good morning, fellas. Good morning, chat. How are you all doing today?
Good. You now you'll see it on the replay. You missed my 15-year-old nephew who opened the show. His tag name is You Can't Beat Cake, and indeed, you can't beat cake.
Oh, he hasn't played what you call it? What's the name of that game? There will be no cake. What's the name of that game, Steel? There is no cake.
There is no cake. I don't know what game are you talking about?
Portal. He hasn't played Portal. There is no.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah, I'm not even angry. But no, it's good to be here with you fellas. Man, I have been playing last Epoch on the last two.
It's a thing. People are checking it out. Actually, matter of fact, Steel literally just talked about that.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I have to say, I actually like it. I played Paladin in Diablo 2. Okay. It was okay, right? But Paladin in this miles better. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like it's so many ways you can skill, place out your build for characters.
Mm-hmm.
You get like 5, I think, to start base, but they all have like 3 or 4 different options.
Yeah, like true options. Yeah, like that's at least the way they feel. Yeah,
it's a lot. I can see maybe thousands of different options being made for how you build, however you want to do it. But it's really dope. I have played it on a ROG and I docked it on my OLED to play it.
Oh, nice!
And it's pretty dope. It's
played pretty well.
It played pretty well. It did have a little bit of small stutter issue when you run.
That's expected. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's nothing crazy. It's nothing like game breaking or will pull you out of it. It's actually really dope. I got some images. I'm going to share it on Twitter in a few. But yeah, I was impressed. I'll just say that. I really do like it, and it's cheap. It was $40 for that, $35, I think, something like that.
I think it's $35. I think it's right under. I know it's under $40 for sure.
Yeah.
And the game just came out. It was in early access for some time, and it just has the best way that I've been explaining it to people. Excuse me for my little Mike Tyson Beth way. I don't know what happened right there, but anyway, I think the best way to compare it would be if you like playing Diablo for its ease of use or just being able to jump in and everything's easy to understand, but you want the breadth or the depth of a Path of Exile, I think Last Epoch treads that middle ground very well. And I think it's really good competition for the space for sure.
You know what's interesting, gentlemen? We have been on not only on this show, but still, you've talked about it with Pong. Obviously, Umbra has talked about it with Danny.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting to see a trend here that under $40 games seem to be ruling the conversation in 2024. Like we're seeing, listen, whether you look, this is an Xbox show. We're going to get into a ton of Xbox stuff. Halo's on your screen. You should be smiling from ear to ear. But I have to talk about Helldivers for a second, and it does go in connection with the $40 budgeted game as opposed to the $70 game that seems to not only be putting companies in dire straits and closing studios left, right, and center. But these $40 games, gentlemen, seem to be really the talk of the town. You know, you have the Pal World, which came out of nowhere. The game that you guys are playing right now. Again, not for me per se, right? But you guys are enjoying it. Helldivers. Now, again, there was a $60 edition. It was a deluxe edition, fine. But you could buy the $40 edition if you want. And there's been several others. I kind of wonder if the industry is going to, because this industry is very trendful, right? Like they see things like Battle Royale was a trend and everyone jumped into it. Most people failed. Some stayed behind. Apex Legends, you know, champion of justice. Fortnite, champion of justice. Obviously,
Warzone.
Yeah, Warzone is still out there. And those are like the major hits. You get a few that kind of stick around for a little bit, but it seems that a lot of the $40 titles and these free-to-play games may be where the industry might be going.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, I think what gives them that leeway is considering that they're not any major IP that have released within the last decade, right? Even if you wanted to go to use Helldivers, the first Helldivers wasn't some world-renowned game, right? It was kind of one of those under the radar games that the people that actually played it said, "Hey, man, this is a really good game," and even the dev themselves have said, "Hey, we still have people that played that game to this day." So with the second game, we kind of wanted to take everything we learned from the first one and kind of just make it a little bit more grander. And actually, we found out that they wanted to make the first game also just like this one, except they didn't have the resources, the versatility, or the know-how at the time. So seeing what they've been able to accomplish with this, and then the other games like Epoch we were just talking about, there are going to be games to where the devs, or I guess that's where the devs being able to make more of the creative decision or the financial decision. Maybe and I'm not going to say that they don't have anybody financially backing them, but I think what that does when you're not under a first party publisher per se, you have a little bit more versatility to kind of play around with some numbers, right? Hey, what did it cost for us to develop this? Hey, like last Epoch, they developed it almost 3 years with the community. So it's like if you were a founder, you paid about the same price, it'll be $30 or $40. And then you get to watch the game grow. So I think it's just the aptitude of the game, the types of games that come out. But I'm right there with you. I think I'm a proponent that I don't think that games should continue to raise in price, because all we're doing is further limiting who's going to actually be purchasing these games. Indeed. Most people, the majority of people who are gamers, wait for games to go on sale. And if that's the case,
the casuals, yes.
If that's the case, then why not try to figure out a way that we can get back down to $49.99, $59.99 for your price tags on games, and you figuring out better ways to monetize the game if you want to do it that way, whether it's with good cosmetics. I'm talking to you, Diablo 4, who I got to pay $70 for a game, and then you get the season pass, and then you give me the most trash cosmetics in the store that I've ever seen in my life, and you want me to pay $20 for these things. That shows me a lack of creative vision, right? So that's more so what I would want to see. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just the quality of the kind of games, the studio, the size, and I think all of that gives them a little bit more versatility, I think.
Yeah, listen, I'm here for it. Look, I'll say this. We're going to get into, obviously, the 3 topics we're going to cover. You see 2 of them on your screen, folks. But this is just a general conversation because I think it's worth having, considering how important the industry is to us, right? We're podcasters. We're not just gamers. So obviously we take it even more serious. But I think there's something to be said, about games coming out, costing you $40 and being one of those games that you'll sink 2, 3, 4, 500 hours in versus and again, I like the game. I'm talking about Suicide Squad. It did not rate very well. But it turns out that a lot of people bought this game and played through it and didn't find that it was one of those games that was worth their money. Here's this Epoch game, which I didn't even know existed until you guys were talking about it. And you look at Helldivers, you look at Power World, look at a few other $40, $30 games that have come out, and people are playing these games. What are your thoughts on Steel's ideology of potentially trying to lower costs?
Yeah, well, I'm already for that because I already told you, my nephew, I got him. He's working his job. He's going to have for me. I don't play that.
You got work.
Yeah,
I ain't paying 70. I told you.
That's clutch.
Yeah,
45.
Exactly. What you got on my game? You know how they say what you got on my 40. What you got on my my game? But yeah, because what you got on my entertainment, because at this point, it's like ridiculous. And I get it for some games, and I get the budgeting because the cost rather because of how much they have to pay to make some of these games. Like you look at the Grand Theft Auto, clearly that's the hundreds of millions to make that, right? So they have to recoup. I get it, but they're going to recoup. Let's not even kid ourselves with that.
Yeah,
it's getting out of hand, and I think all of us have kind of come to that realization that there can be changes made as far as the budgeting and as far as the scope of what they're doing to lower that cost, and that's what it should be, because it's kind of like a lightning in a bottle situation for Power World and for Helldivers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's not like that's a normal thing that's just going to happen. Those games got
to be good, right? It's got to be engaging for sure.
They have to be engaging, and I think games that don't have to have a $70 price tag to be engaging, right? And I think this is what those games have shown, not just the world, I would say, but I think game companies and such, or the overlords of the company, to see like, hey, we can still make some big bank with lower tiered pricing games. They don't have to be $70. They want to charge us $70. Let's be clear. Indeed. They want to get that from us. So it's got to be a thing where they come to the realization of you'll get more. That's a quote my grandmother used to always say: you get more bees with honey than you will with vinegar.
You do with vinegar. Yeah, indeed. Absolutely.
And give us the sweet kind of sounding deal, the honey, if you will, of $40 or less, and you're still getting good bang for your buck. Like last Epoch, for instance, one thing I do love about it is still you've seen it. The map is
ridiculous. Right in the center of the screen. Yeah,
isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it's
like
awesome.
when you look at the actual map of where you can do like go and traverse and go and fight people, whatever. It's so realized and fully done. It's like it's an art piece of the world. And then they have different eras you can change to like a prehistoric, et cetera, right? All these different eras you can change to because it's dealing with time. But it's so well done, and you do so much. You have so much you can do in this game for a game that's under $40 to give you that, and it still be super fun. That is the type of stuff that they're, I think, more.
Is this PC only, or is this on Xbox?
Right now,
yeah.
Right now, it is only Steam only. They were talking about bringing it to console, but I think they wanted to gauge what the true interest is. But the devs have been kind of playing off of the woes of Diablo 4, and I think they're trying to get in a little bit more, maybe earlier before Path of Exile 2, because the thing that, and I don't want to go on forever about Last Epoch, but the thing that Last Epoch does, I'll put it to you like this: Diablo will forever and always hold the title for giving you the production quality as far as an ARPG goes. That's bar none. By comparison, no other game in the ARPG genre comes close. The way I feel about Diablo 4 playing that story, it's incredible. But when you're talking about what Diablo is, the end game, the replayability, the versatility, the picking a class and just feeling like you could do whatever you want to with that class, and it makes sense. Like, you don't have to do a Path of Exile. That's the biggest negative against that game, is that people feel like they have to watch a video. I have to watch a tutorial. And that could, like, especially for people like me, of course I'll do it if I need to, but that's a turnoff for me. Why isn't the class just viable from the beginning? That's what I thought Diablo 4 was going to have. That's the way they pitched it. And lo and behold, that's not what it was. Whereas in this game, there is so much versatility even from the beginning. Of course, there's going to be meta, but in this, it's so much more casual, friendly. Like, boom, if you just hopped on, if it came to console and you hopped on, you and your wife could probably jump in because it is co-op as well. Yep. You and your wife could jump in and probably would feel a little bit more at home because it is Diablo 3-esque in that way, as far as the way that it presents itself. It's easy to understand. You get into, you feel that power creep and you feel strong. Like it just plays on all those things really well. And you could tell that the dev has been looking at its competitors as they should. Whereas, so you get big, I guess you lose sight of what really matters. And they're just paying attention. So that's the main thing.
I would agree with that 100%. And Boom, I know you said you and the missus, you guys didn't much care for Diablo 4 as much.
Yeah, we love Diablo 3. We did not like 4. 4 was so like I got it a bit, but it was a little bit complicated, especially when it came to like your gear. It was for me, and again, I still have yet to play it, and I bought it. I bought the deluxe edition, folks. I didn't play it because Mrs. Boom didn't want it, and that's why I bought it, to play with her. To me, it seemed overly developed. Like, how you were saying, like this smaller game is what it is, and they're designing it for you to understand it. As much as Diablo, because we played the beta. And after like 2 hours, she's like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. And I'm like, okay, so I'm still going to buy it just in case. Because I know there was something with, we didn't like the screen pulled too far back. And I know you can change that. You couldn't change that in the beta.
See, and then last Epoch, that's fixed too. They pulled the camera. It's traditional. It's very traditional. It's cool.
Yeah, nice. You can pull the camera closer or back in last Epoch for sure. And I did so, of course, because my vanity would not let me let go of seeing my paladin decked out properly with the armor and all that. But it is pretty. I think you all would like this more. I do agree with that. I think also too the color palettes and the landscape that you get to play in, I think, is more welcoming at first than the more bleak Diablo. I think that's probably part of the issue, is that it's less about
Diablo is very gray, and brown, right?
And bleak. Yeah, it's very bleak and because you start, as soon as you start off, people murdered in a town. So like you and the things of wolves, whatever, were chasing you to those things. So you start off kind of in a bleak, and you stay in a bleak. I say start off. You stay in a bleak setting throughout Diablo, versus this, which is kind of more fantasy, I would say, fantasy style in a way. It still has, like, I think later on you do have more, like kind of demonic types that you might go across. But I think
that's perfectly fine. We don't mind that at all. As a matter of fact, there were 2 games that besides Baldur's Gate, and I'm not talking about the new ones. I'm talking about the old interplay joints. Mrs. Boom and I have beaten those games 30 times a piece on the hardest level. We love that. But there were 2 games that Sony made back in the days on the PlayStation 2. Any Sony fans in here, I know it's an Xbox podcast. It was called Champions of Norath. And it was so good. Oh my God. We still own it. Like, if I had a PS2, we would play through it. You can't do that with PlayStation 5 because, they don't respect you having discs and stuff. But yeah, that's if this is, I'm going to definitely check this out when it comes to console, because I hope it does.
I hope it does. But like I say, I think the bleak setting for Diablo is probably off-putting for some too. Even if you say I'm fine with it, I think constant bleakness kind of pulls you out of it after a minute. Versus this world is more colorful, more fantasy-like in presentation. I think you all would actually enjoy it. And then, like Steele said, the power creep, you feel the power of what your character is almost immediately when you set up whatever power base you want to do. Of course, you can respec your points and put it elsewhere if you don't like what you're doing. And there's already tons of guys coming out now for builds that you can look up on YouTube and whatever and see, like, oh, okay, that looks kind of cool. But I think it just has a more instant rewarding kind of feeling compared to Diablo to me. But that said, just getting back on the whole thing, and I see some of the comments are like, can we really judge it off? It was an early access. I don't think that really matters. Obviously, D4 is better when it comes to polish and
production for sure.
Production easily, like Steele said, like
story, all that.
The story and the cutscenes, all of that, right? Voice acting, all of that is going to be better in D4. But I will say, Last Epoch does a solid job. Like, it's not. I'm not saying this to big it up over D4, so don't get the wrong idea. I think it's a different experience. and they do some things I think that are better than D4 did. But D4 definitely, of course, beats it when it comes to production level and other, intangibles of that nature. But it's still worthwhile, I think. And at that price point, that's the thing that's beautiful about it, because that it would lead us or lead people to give it a try.
Right. That's the thing.
That is the thing.
Especially with new IP. I am 1000% behind that. Why are you trying to charge top? Like, I get it. Like, quality is going to always be in the eye of the beholder. But if the information that we've been getting recently doesn't prove anything, like I don't know what else needs to happen that will, right? Other than these types of games continue to come out. And again, with second and third party being able to be more versatile, them not having that big old board, staring them down the barrel and getting ready to fire them at any moment, maybe that hustle or maybe that want to really create the best product that you can make with the resources that you have is continuing to bless the gaming industry in a way that maybe it does continue to help us see, hey, maybe we shouldn't pay $70 for games. Hey, maybe things can be done differently. Hey, what do we truly value overall, right? Yeah. And it seems to be gameplay so far.
Gameplay is king, and that's why I think that's part of what I said Nintendo is excelling at. For instance, we talked about that before. I said gameplay and nostalgia. They got the two on lock, and that's why they excel. Yeah. But and accessibility, I guess, because you get to move around with the
easily, so, that's nothing, especially for the kids. Where's the Switch at? Oh, here you go. I need a charger. It's USB-C. Perfect.
There you go.
Good to go. It's just I think Nintendo's 80% nostalgia. I think it's 70% nostalgia, 10% accessibility, and 20%.
Gameplay.
IP, gameplay, 100%.
I agree with that. But I see some people saying again, early access. I agree with that. Yeah, but that's the beauty of Steam and stuff. They can do that stuff and more effortlessly get away with that and say, hey, here's the complete package now. Xbox has done that though, so there is no. There is a way to do it here too. Xbox can do it. They're more open than PlayStation is with the early access thing. So I would hope that Microsoft talks with them and say, hey, you can bring it on over here. I mean, it's ready now, so they don't have to for this. But they can do that and do that with more games and say, hey, bring your early access game over there, like they did with Power World is early access, I believe, right? So they can do that. They do that. So it's definitely a benefit to that as well, because like you all are pointing out, clearly they can iron out bugs and other issues like that. And release the game at a really good state. So I'm all for that too. Early access when it comes to that type of thing. But I think a lower price point for gaming is a win for all of us in general. You're never going to hear me arguing for us to pay more. Never. 100%. Sorry, I'm just not doing that. I'm consumer from.
I'm not going to make excuses for it. None of that. If you can't answer my questions about what happened to the guidebooks and my hard copy games, or why my hard copy games are only licenses, if you're not going to give me a direct answer for that, or a solution that says, hey, we can no longer put games on disc because of A, B reason. If you're not ever going to do that or tell me why games aren't being shipped, I mean, again, I can read into it. Things are going digitally. I get that. But you're not showing me where these costs are going instead. You've told me for 30 years that these costs are absorbing it. That, we pay so much money for production. That's what kills us, is the production, printing out the disc, and got to talk to all these different stores. And what happened to all that cost? Y'all are cutting it down more and more and more, and we're getting less and less, while also getting digital games that aren't complete day one. Until I get the answer for that, I'm going to continue to say, no. As a consumer, I think we should pay X price, or I think prices should be lower than what they currently are.
So,
I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, there's something to be said about games, being lower in price. I'd never be in the camp. Well, pay, because again, there's been some Sony fans that have said that PlayStation games are so great that they would pay $100. And if you're that dumb, good on you, because Sony's listening, and they're eventually going to charge $80 for games on PlayStation. And that's when I stopped supporting PlayStation. I will never buy another game. I will wait for Black Friday sales, even if I have to go wait a year for a game. I will never buy a first party game at $80. And now, if it's my choice, like a deluxe edition, that's my choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the deluxe edition on most of Sony's stuff because it has the the weapons pack or the armor pack, or you get some extra stuff in there. I've always been that way, so it's fine. But at least it's my choice, and I'm getting extra shit for it. Not that I'm going to spend it's $79.99 now because we want them for the next edition of God of War or Uncharted. Well, good luck with that.
Something I find, gentlemen, is that when it comes to games that are more fairly priced and or underpriced, what it seems like, at least, it makes it feel like a steal, right? That's one.
Almost.
Yes.
Two, like for instance, that's why free to play games are they excel so much for no entryway cost, you get right in. But if you have a low entry barrier, Fortnite, exactly, perfect point. But if you have going back to last Epoch, it's under $40, and they have you don't feel stiffed when it comes to the microtransactions, in which you can buy costumes and things of that nature and other accessories, whatever. They don't assist you in the game, but they've their visuals, right? So those things, I'm not the biggest fan of the pricing, because like one of the armors is like $15, for instance. I'm not buying that at that price, but I would be more inclined to buy that. And me being a sucker I am for cosmetics, I probably am going to eventually be like, you know what? Keep the party going and get it. You know what I mean? But my whole thing is, you're more inclined to spend more when you feel you've been dealt a fair hand, I think, as a consumer, versus continuously being stiffed with $70 here. Oh, here's $20 for the costume pack. Oh, here's this too. And I think, boom, that's probably part of why, not all of it. That's part of why Suicide Squad didn't land well. For one, it wasn't the game most of us wanted. Let's just be real.
I think that's 70%. I think that's 80%.
That's about 80%. Yeah.
I don't think that's, and I don't think that's a fair. I don't think that's a fair criticism for that game. Because again, we're getting to a point to where we're not judging the game for what it is. We're judging the game for what we wanted it to be.
That's fair.
That's not okay either.
You're right.
Again, you can't we can't want innovation, and then when they innovate and say, "Oh, we want to try to do something different,"
but
say, not that different.
I would disagree on it being innovative. I don't think it was innovative. I would say that, but I do agree that we can't judge it based off what we want instead of what.
That's 100%.
I do agree. I agree with you that I've actually said the same. We can't. I wanted you to make this type of game, so I'm not. So I hate it now. You're right about that. But I will say a lot of it is due to most wanting what they wanted, I will say. So it's a bit unfair.
That's fair.
But I will also say, because of the pedigree of Rocksteady and what they set for already with the Arkham series, we did not get that with this. And so it was it was for us, it felt, for a lot of people at least, it felt, for me, I'm one of them. I didn't care I played the beta or alpha, I guess it was the alpha. I did not like it whatsoever. And I
beat the game, and I couldn't disagree more. I think Rocksteady's pedigree shines through and through the game from start to finish, especially story-wise. This made me feel the way that I felt playing Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. I got all those same feels. Is it Batman? No, it's not. Agree. It's a different perspective for sure. But as far this game made me care more about the Suicide Squad than any movie or any other piece of IP previously ever has.
Wow.
Period. Point blank. Period.
I guess, I don't know. I think it's a mixture.
At least for
me.
I'll put it to this way.
Respect to it.
I'll say this for you, Umbra. It's not an if, folks. It's definitely a when. This game is going to be cut in half price. There's no doubt about it. It didn't do well. When it does, I highly recommend picking it up, because I like Steel. I didn't beat it. I'm like halfway through because I'm back to playing Halo, which, by the way, there's a new season dropping today.
Definitely gotta get back on that.
I'm all in for
new map
the next
too.
Season. Yeah, new map, which looks dope.
Isn't this when they stopped calling it season? They started calling it jump something.
This is a what do they call it? Not an event. I guess it is an event, right? The cyber whatever event.
It's Cyber something 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Cyber something 3. It's got 20 levels. You can buy all 20 levels if you want. I'm not doing that. I will gladly, when you start a 50 level season, I do like the first, you get the first 20. That I'll do, and I don't mind that. But I'm not buying the whole 20. No, I'll earn that and play. And
you'll get it in no time anyway.
Especially
if you play enough. But I was going to say that I think another problem for me, at least, is on the Suicide Squad is that it does some things I just could not get with and agree with as far as how the representation of certain characters and how they represented Batman, for instance, in the send-off. I thought it was like, come on, this is how you send Kevin Conroy off. I didn't like that. Also, I'm just a super comic fan. I read all these. I know about this stuff. So when I see that and it goes away from it and they do things that's like, that doesn't happen in the comics. That's not part of the canon. And then people can say, well, this is a different canon. Yeah, but still, I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way in a lot of different ways. And again, it's because I have different looks at it when it comes to content of the canon. I'm like that when it comes to anything. If Halo changed up something dramatically, I'd be like, hold on, that's not in the canon for what Master Chief and the Spartans could do, or this is not how they would act. That's why so many people have issues, for instance, with the shows. Like, wait a minute, that's not quite accurate to what they're supposed to do or how they behave. So, I'm kind of like that. I don't want you to deviate too far from the source material. So that's probably what it is for me.
And that's something. That's another one of those things that I disagree with too, because the show's not perfect for sure. I don't know. We're touching a few different topics, gaming related.
I love these kind of general conversations that you get out there and you just have it.
Because, season 2 is really solid. But for me, as somebody like when you talk about the original content, I go back to the books, and what the show has done for me, at least, as somebody that has read all of the books, is show the human side of Master Chief that people don't see or don't understand or don't care to look into. That you want Master Chief with the helmet all the time or full armor all the time, and that's not what made him him overall. That's what made him to the UNSC and to everybody else on the outside. But what really made Chief who he was, and again, the show's not perfect. Them having the chick that's on the cover, like all like little things are like, I don't. These things are really weird. It doesn't make sense. You could have done much better than this. But just to give that human element to it before they put him more in the suit, I think that they're. I'm not going to say that they're landing perfectly, but I think they're bringing a little bit more earth. They're bringing a little bit more to it than we've ever gotten. Yeah.
No, listen. That's why I like part 4 so much, right? For instance, they explored his human side.
Absolutely.
So there, I'm not in disagreement on that part. I'm just talking about certain other things.
Yeah,
like just the Master Cheeks controversy from the season 1.
Man, get some cheeks.
Listen, I'm not against my boy getting some cheeks.
You want some cheeks, man?
I'm gonna help me against him doing that.
Yeah. Hey, man, he found another human, man. He understands his problems. Bro,
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? How many times we
know how I get?
That's all I'm asking, you know what I mean?
Hey, man, you know how I get when you can relate to somebody. Y'all got similar powers, you know.
No, but season 2 has been really good to credit. So, yeah.
Well, listen, folks, look, here's the thing. We're 30 minutes into the show. Hopefully you've hung around enough to enjoy the show that you hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Mrs. Boom and I are on the hunt for 15K. We are slowly getting to, 14.3. We're still about, 14 subs from hitting that 14.3. We'll get it. It's just time. But if you're new to the channel, please consider checking us out. Guys, I want to steamroll into this next conversation because obviously the course of the last 3 weeks has been very, very difficult to navigate as both an Xbox fan and a content creator for that matter. There's been some talk about Xbox going third party, them not valuing their IPs. What does the future look like? 4 games are now available on PlayStation. 2 of those 4 are available on Switch. The other 2 are more than likely coming when the Switch 2 releases next year. This is what they're starting with. We don't know where this goes, how far it ends. Starfield was obviously at the tip of everyone's tongue. That got the big kibosh. And from what we understand, is no longer happening, or maybe it is still happening. We don't know. But there is one game that most people are sitting by and waiting to hear about, and that is the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, the reason why this is a topic is because a couple of weeks ago, it became really a hot topic of discussion simply because the minute you say, Xbox game A, B, and C are going to console 1, 2, people are like, oh, that's it. They're giving all away their wares. Now, listen, whether you believe Phil Spencer or you don't, and I still do, he said, and I quote, that he was not going to do anything that was going to hurt the brand. Well, here's the thing, folks, and listen, depending on who you like as a journalist, and the it's shrinking of who I trust, but there are several in the audience that I care for, that I know personally, like Jez Corden. We got a chance to meet in real life in E3 2019. I stay in touch with Jez on a regular basis. I'm politely in his chat for the Xbox 2. Sometimes he's even here. He was in the chat during primetime gaming last week. So he's definitely one of the journalists that I consider tip of the spear. And just getting back to Elder Scrolls, we do know, folks, almost, I don't want to say it's confirmed. Sarah Bond says we're getting some hardware this summer, which means that they're going to have something to show us based on new hardware. What is the hardware? Is it the mythic handheld, the hybrid that everyone's talking about? Is it an announcement that we're going to see new hardware in 2026? Is it just a simple digital edition? Let's hope it's not something it's quite embarrassing as the SpongeBob SquarePants $700 Series X that's available. I don't know who was asking for that, folks, but it to me is not the special edition consoles that I personally want, but I suppose at least there is a special edition console. Fine, whatever. But still, I think when we don't know what 2025 is going to hold. Is that Gear 6? Is it Fable? Is it Perfect Dark? Right? We don't know. But what we do know is that it's potentially likely that at least in 2026, Elder Scrolls, or the Elder Scrolls 6, could logistically be a launch title for new hardware. Now, traditionally, as we've seen in the last couple of releases, the hardware usually comes out in the fall. So what that would do is that would give all of the rest of 24, all of 25, and potentially to the end of 26 to get something like the Elder Scrolls literally ready for launch. I'm saying this right now. I don't want to hear about this going anywhere, and I don't think it should. If you are, and again, I'm speaking directly to Microsoft, if you are looking to sell your console like hotcakes, and here is where we're going to get into the mud of things. I'm not a business guy, Steele. I don't have a degree, but I'd like to believe I live in the world of common sense. Sony is in the process of dropping a Pro, potentially coming this fall. I think it's a mistake, but you know what? They don't. Fine. Sell your console. It's probably going to sell. People are going to buy it. Who's going to buy it? Well, not this guy. I'm not buying a Pro. I barely use my regular one, so I'm not spending the money. But here's the thing. If they jump Sony by 2 years, Steele, and you have something like the Elder Scrolls 6 to be a launch title for your box, that's a big deal. You know what that does? That moves people away from potentially the PlayStation brand or I should say, potentially getting into the ecosystem. Now, sure, they could go to PC because it's going to release there, but if you have a hybrid where you're going to take power on the go and you're going to dock it and it's going to be on your screen just like the Switch, and you have a launch title like the Elder Scrolls 6, this has to be an exclusive. And I'm sorry to say, I don't know if it should be an exclusive permanently. People are going to fight over that. But this has to be an exclusive if you're launching new hardware and you're jumping your competitor potentially by 12 to 18, maybe even 24 months in advance. What are your thoughts?
I like to be consistent, so I'll go here. For me, I do definitely think that Elder Scrolls 6 being exclusive to the ecosystem would be the most ideal thing to do. Single player games, for me, I think can speak more for your ecosystem and everything, because multiplayer games should be the games that drive traction, drive attention to your platform. Or engagement more so, excuse me. Whereas what you can fill in between that is those single player games that really stand out and or have a particular magic to them, right? So you see that with Starfield, you see that with You can see that with an Elder Scrolls 6. You see that with some of these other games that are also releasing, like Hellblade 2. Single player games. There's so many different ways that you can market those, that you can show people, hey, this is the power of the platform. This is what's possible on this box. Although I do think that even that conversation is going to be changing, because we're already see that there's not really that big of a difference between the boxes as is. But I do think it's going to more so show them like, hey, this is the power of our ecosystem. This is the power of our platform. Not only do you get one of the best places to play games online, but when you're tired of playing with your friends and you just want to play solo, we have these list of great games that you can jump into that are available as part of your service. And that's the other great thing about it, with it being part of your service and being purchasable, because again, I know people say that Game Pass is just a rental service. I mean, I don't remember going to Blockbuster saying, hey, instead of renting this movie, how about I buy this movie instead from you? They typically don't let you do that because they got to rent it out to other people, because that's how they make their money. But nonetheless, with having a service that is so versatile, that lets people kind of engage however they want, the PC players, that majority are going to end up purchasing day one because they want the access, whether that be on Steam or whichever else the case might be. And maybe, again, that still goes against the exclusive conversation, because games going to PC inherently, unless it's directly in the Xbox store, it inherently has kind of made it not exclusive anymore regardless, and that's just part of their play. I don't see them limiting it to only Xbox, because they already have that good relationship with Steam. So it's like either way, it does allow people to at least acknowledge what Xbox is as a platform, as an ecosystem, and Elder Scrolls 6 being one of those, especially for it being mostly highly anticipated coming off of Skyrim. Skyrim hasn't aged the greatest. Outside of mods, right? I mean, again, I had to download over 2,000 mods. I just actually recently deleted Skyrim because I'm not going to have time to jump back in. But I had almost 500 gigs worth of mods downloaded for my Skyrim for it to be a satisfactory experience to me today.
Okay,
right?
That's fair.
And I never played Skyrim before previously to that. So it's like, it's one of those things. These games do grow over time. I'm kind of offhanded when it comes to these single player games, because a lot of them I do enjoy playing day one. But like Starfield, I'm starting to regret my first playthrough. And again, I don't typically regret it. I'm just more so speaking of it kind of from the outside now. I'm kind of regretting that playthrough because I'm seeing more of the mods drop in. Now I can play as the Green Ranger. Now I can play as Mando. Now I can play as all these other characters or other outfits or armors, the things that I like, that kind of, I know some people are like, oh, that's not the original experience. So I mean, guys, I'm the guy that played Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I replaced Barrett with Chief, and I thought that made the experience fantastic. I was like, man,
that actually sounds kind of dope, dude. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh my goodness!
But so it's just one of those things. But back to Elder Scrolls 6, I do think it being exclusive. I'm on the side of things where single player games, I can see them being exclusive to a platform, to an ecosystem, because that makes sense. That gives you an additional value. Whereas the multiplayer games on the opposite side of that for me. But yeah, to answer your question, Boom, Elder Scrolls 6 are definitely, if it's going to be all the things, and I guess, and I imagine from what I've seen that people kind of feel off about this because of all the negativity that's kind of come off of Starfield, although somehow it's still one of the most talked about games, although people say it's not that great, although people say it's not a generational game, although I remember hearing some of these same things about Skyrim, and here we are 10 plus years later, and Skyrim is one of the most modded games in existence, and it's a single player game.
It's interesting that you happen to mention Starfield, because we're going to talk about that on the back end. We're going to segue into the Shattered Space DLC that's expected to be dropping soon. Here's the thing, though, and again, sometimes I enjoy getting messy. I get in the mud and I wipe it around and everything. You said people were saying things about Starfield. You know what they also said about Starfield, folks, and this goes right back to Steel Rain, that 30 frames per second for an RPG was a fail. And I'm sorry to say, folks, if you're playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you are asked to be playing 30 frames simply because the performance mode is broken. And it's broken in a way where it really does detract from your experience, where the developer is telling you to, hey, playing 30 frames. So, and now I've seen it. I'm not, again, no names. We don't name the nameless here, folks. Oh, 30 frames. This is an experience because, you're trying to tell a story. I just love how narratives change, Theo. I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there for shits and giggles, if you would.
Nah, you're good, man. I mean, again, it's just funny seeing how things are playing out, especially for me, someone who is not. I'm not the Bethesda dude. I'm not the Skyrim dude. I'm not none of those things. Never really had any experience with any of those games prior, and I thought Starfield was. I think Starfield for me is the best Bethesda game that they've released to date. I don't have anything. I mean, again, I rated the game an 8 out of 10, and I could talk about Starfield for quite some time. But nonetheless, I know that's not what we're talking about here. But yeah, man, Elder Scrolls being exclusive to the ecosystem makes the most sense. So I definitely am in 100% agreements in that. But I want to hear what Umbra got to throw on that back end of this conversation. What he's gonna throw in the mix. Man.
So Umbra, let's bring you into the conversation, because obviously, look, if we take history as we know it, right? The Xbox 360 came out a year before the PlayStation 3. Right, to great success. Now, granted, the Red Ring of Death probably should have killed Xbox as a brand, and it didn't. They repaired it. I got about 7 of those cardboard coffins that they were sending. I returned my console like 7 times. I never got disenchanted with the brand. I just kept, I kept going because I'm an Xbox guy. I called them out on it many times, obviously, because you can't have that. But when you consider where we are in gaming right now, Sony, market leader, no arguing the fact that they are the market leader. They continue to be. This year, have no first-party games. Yes, they have some pretty stellar third-party exclusive deals. Now, again, Final Fantasy is going to be, it was highly rated. It's probably going to be the Game of the Year talk, even though with some modes being broken, I don't know how it got a 10, but it's fine. Okay, I guess it is what it is. Stellar Blade looks very good. Rise of the Ronin looks very good. But these are not first-party games. These are third-party exclusives. Fine.
Second.
Xbox seems really stacked for first-party in 2024. We are expecting 2025 to be no less. And if you can somehow navigate the world the way it is, especially with budgets being overly extraordinary and people closing studios left, right, and center, if Microsoft could stay the course, have an amazing 2024 coming off of what I thought to be an amazing 2023, you go into 2025 and you have a Fable and you have a potential Gears of War collection or a Gears 6. There's a lot of stuff that they have that they're currently working on. And then you roll into 2026 with new hardware. At this point, they're hitting on all cylinders. The Elder Scrolls 6 is probably, I would dare say, even more anticipated than Starfield was, because it's the Elder Scrolls. And if you somehow manage to develop that game, and I'm not saying that they haven't started development. It's in development for years, I would imagine. Just how far, well, we don't know. But if you could match that, if you can match an Elder Scrolls game with a launch console, one of which is expected to be the big boy, right, that we're all going to buy, right, the PC level experience, and of course the hybrid, and then you can drop an Elder Scrolls in a year where Sony will not have matching hardware. Man, I think it could be something. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, it'll be something for sure. I mean, you look at past releases of consoles and you look at I think some people sleep on the Xbox One when it comes to launch releases, for instance. Really great launch games came out for that versus PlayStation. I don't know. Well, clearly it didn't matter because they had so many other issues with the Xbox One launch that hurt it versus that. So we can't quite quantify how it would work if you had if you released that without all of the negativity toward the brand. So, but it does matter clearly. But the thing is that Xbox now is built to continuously give us those levels and types of games. That's the beautiful thing. So yeah, an Elder Scrolls 6 launching day and date with the launch of the new console. Absolutely, that's a major W. The problem, however, comes, in my opinion, at least, because we talk about exclusives mattering, and they do. I know people will say they don't, and I disagree. I think they do, and I think that if it comes to the case that Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive, then it is an even bigger W. It's an even bigger win for Xbox, because it definitely pushes people to have to get it. It's a killer app, as they would say. So that is, I think, it's dependent on a few things. Obviously, it being Elder Scrolls is going to do gangbusters regardless, but it can be excelled if it's exclusive to that platform. That in PC, of course, we already know it's going to be on PC as well.
Of course, yes.
But if as far as consoles go, if it's specific to just Xbox and when it launches, I don't see any other way for that but as a W, especially if the Microsoft actually launches earlier than PlayStation does for the next console. Yeah, I guess that's the best way I can put it, as succinct as I can put it. So yeah, it comes down to a few factors. Again, exclusivity matters for that reason, if they want to make sure that it's pushing the hardware. But I don't know though. The thing is like, I don't feel like the hardware is the concern for Xbox anymore at this point. You know what I mean? Not that it won't put them out, but that it's like, we have to sell this many. That's a PlayStation problem now.
Yes, it is.
Microsoft
has
evolved beyond that. So I don't know. And that's partly why I'm not sure if they're going to be like, oh, it's exclusive. We don't know.
Well, here's the thing.
We don't know how they'll handle that.
Darth Seth 24 says Satya said he doesn't like exclusives. Actually, that's not what he said. What he was referring to is he doesn't. Okay, so he did say that he doesn't like the exclusive game, but they have to do it because that is what the industry dictates. So you are partly right, but you're only partly giving, again, half of the conversation. We know exclusives can be used as weapons to move entire audiences to a brand. A perfect example of that, Darth Seth, is what Sony has done with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the most renowned, worldwide recognized character in the entire planet. And they have locked that character to a box, meaning that it's only on PlayStation and people know it. Now, are people running out to buy the next PlayStation because of Spider-Man? Well, that depends on who you poll. If it's the normies, the answer is yes. If it's the diehard, you might even get a yes there as well. I don't want to think. I don't want to discount the exclusivity, and something like Elder Scrolls. Yes, if you put it on PlayStation, it is going to sell. But here's the thing. If you turn around and all we are talking about, see, this is the Pandora's box we talked about last Wednesday's primetime gaming. The Pandora's box for Microsoft has been opened, right? We don't. The question from now on is going to be: is it coming to PlayStation and when? And you may get some of these journalists say, when is it coming to PlayStation? They may be so bold. And whose fault is that? Well, that's Microsoft's fault. That's Xbox's fault for allowing Pandora's box to open. You can't close it. Tough titty, right? All right, so fine. But if you release a console ahead of them, and again, I said 2 years, it could be a year. And actually, you know what? Real quick, let me read this from Ducato. Shout out to Ducato. Thanks so much for being here, brother. He says you are looking at very different CPU and GPU memory, etc. with with a staggered launch. Though Sony has now a chance to build more extreme after the staggered release, if it happens, I disagree, and I'm gonna tell you why. A year is not going to change much. And if Microsoft gets a jump on them, I mean, a perfect example of that is look what Sony did with the PlayStation 3. They took a dump, basically. The only reason why that they even came close and ultimately overtook Xbox that generation is because they were selling the PlayStation consoles well after the Xbox 360 stopped selling them. So they kept selling PS3s, and of course, you're eventually going to pass the Xbox 360, which is what they did. They didn't beat them by much, and they only did that because Xbox 360, moved on to another generation. That's just
that and the Blu-ray player. There was, if you're going to get a Blu-ray player at the time, you might as well just get a PlayStation 3.
Yeah, indeed, one of the best Blu-ray players available actually at the time. Look, who's to say? I think that the exclusivity of something like that needs to be front and center. I don't care if it comes out 2 years later. At that point, they've sold as many as they can. And here's the thing. Can we really still say that, well, after 2 years, it's not going to sell? Because people are still buying Skyrim now. Right?
Yeah, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think like some people get worried about it, like Spider-Man not coming to PC day and day. Oh, that's going to eat up sales. Well, no, it's not. It's been proven that that's not the case. Now, if Spider-Man released to Xbox 2 years later, that would be beneficial to them because you've gotten everybody who was going to get a PlayStation and play Spider-Man played it. But now inherently what you're going to do now, especially with things not being so different, like I get game development costs, you got to make this version. The versions are not that different today. Over the last decade, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I have to be the bearer of bad news. Games are not made that drastically different. Now PC, because there's a million different configurations, that's when things become complicated. But even that has a baseline, a middle, and a high end for everybody. So it's like figuring that out. I definitely think is the biggest key to all of it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird.
I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer here. I just personally think that if you're trying to move hardware, especially brand new hardware, and one of which is going to be coming off the heels of, I would imagine, a very successful Switch 2 launch, those Switch players are getting older. Yes, I'm sure they're going to be the gamers that game on their tablets and game on their phones, and I get all of that, but at the same time, if you stack the deck, which again, this is all going based on what Microsoft puts out the next couple of years. 2024 is a stacked deck. Anyone that thinks 2023 wasn't, I mean, maybe not every game was for you, but that's on you, man. I thought it was extremely stacked. And now we're getting into where 2025, you could get a Fable. You could get a Gears collection. You could get a Gears 6. You could get a Perfect Dark. You could get a bunch of the games that they have working. Man. Project Mara is you should be hearing some stuff on that. When does the first episode of Kojima's new joint that's going to be episodic launch? Is that in 2025? I don't know.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, but it certainly could be. And if you're trying to sell new hardware, and you already have Sony beat because their hardware is nowhere ready to go, you put the exclusive tag on this. Now, again, that's where it is. It's exclusive to Xbox. It's exclusive. Same way they said to Starfield. No, it's exclusive. Now, does that change in 3 years afterwards? Maybe. But I think that if you're going to try to take over market leadership, and who's to say they haven't already at that point? Because Sony told you they want to raise their games to $80, and they're not doing day and date, and they're cutting costs left, right, and center, folks. So we don't know if they're going to be the market leader. I would assume that they're going to be, but things change, right? And I hate to say this, folks. Look at the visual field in front of you. Xbox Game Pass is right now one of the best deals in gaming and continues to get better. MLB The Show just dropped into Game Pass. That is still $76.43 for the regular edition on PlayStation 5.
For the third time.
For the third freaking time. Oh, and PS, by the way, just to add more salt to this broth that I'm cooking here, we learned just last week that the numbers of Xbox players to PlayStation players was 6-1 on an exclusive. Something about Game Pass, folks. I don't know. I think it's going to stick around. So
what did we talk about earlier, Boom? That value, once you get something that you felt like you didn't really have to pay for, that you're more willing to potentially spend more inside that game. What is a game like that? A sports game, matter of fact, it's America's greatest pastime, right? That's what everybody recalls baseball as. So there's all these people who didn't have access to it before, who really wanted to get a good baseball game, now have access to whatever the Ultimate Team is, whatever the single player is, whatever the online is. They have, and now inherently you have more. MLB is making more money off their game than they ever did previously, and getting more traction than they've ever got before. But it's a beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And to add to that, just to add,
please,
I'm gonna take this a different direction. Just to add to that, and still, you're absolutely correct. I mean, for one, the Xbox games are the best. I'm gonna say that first and foremost. Like all the PlayStation guys, MLB hype it up. They don't even play the game, but whatever. I'll go another direction with it, right? Because the chat is kind of speaking on this, and we spoke on this before. You all saw the whole situation where you canceled Mandalorian game. Now, by the way, come on, dang, Disney.
Shame on you, sir.
Allegedly they're up the price from 25 to 33% now, right?
33%, yeah.
Which is going to go upwards of that. So I get it. It's not going to be cost effective for EA and
nowhere close. It looks like
Now, what does that tell you that Disney is going to do when it concerns Spider-Man and other IP that they have, like Wolverine and such like that, with Sony? To me, it tells us that, and like some have said in the chat, which I absolutely agree with, is going to likely be push multi-plat. So tying that into this conversation, that makes it even more so powerful if you have something like an Elder Scrolls, which is exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem specifically, and not multi-plat as far as consoles are concerned, at least. Then you have Spider-Man and all those games, which was a major feather in Sony's hat and a cap. You take that away from them, but you still have exclusivity when it comes to a heavy hitter like Elder Scrolls. It would help Xbox tremendously, in my honest opinion, if it was the case for that. Now, to be fair, they'll make even more money, of course, if it's not exclusive, to be fair. I'm just saying that I think if their concern is to get an install base for the next console, I don't know how you survived that dude with the sword. I thought he had you. He's gonna cut you. He's gonna cut you. But it's so funny because I'm talking on these topics and I look at the gameplay. I'm like, what was I saying?
You got listen, honestly, you got to do the same thing. This is older gameplay, and I hadn't played in a while. Dude, I'm running 18-4, 18, 20-2, 20-6.
It's been a few weeks recently.
I'm playing with randos, but I've been on a freaking tear, dude. Yeah. Like this is all I want to play, man. Halo's so good.
Great game. But like I say, the whole thing, I think, going back to that is just that when those games, because Sony is going to have to go, I think, more so than Microsoft, at least it's going to have to be a point where they're going to have to, looking at what the things that Hiroki Totoki is talking on, they're going to go the same direction. Microsoft often, as we all know, kind of gets the heat of the moment when they do what they do, but Sony soon follows suit, as we've come to see. So I think Microsoft is just quicker to see the writing on the wall and pays for it negatively, at least through the press and reactions from the fan bases, versus Sony maybe or Nintendo, and then Sony follows suit. So I think it's going to be a case where a lot of those games are going to go multi-plat for Sony as well, and probably to their benefit. But then that becomes another case on how they're going to handle it as far as the hardware, because that's what drives the console sales for them. Again, I don't think that's really the thing for Xbox anymore. I don't think it's like we got to have this many console sales. That's not their point. Their point is Game Pass. So I feel like they could say, hey, it's not going to be exclusive. They're going to make money anyway. But if their concern is to say, hey, we want to get a solid install base, then I would say at least having some timed exclusivity for Elder Scrolls would be in order to make sure you establish the Xbox as the more dominant brand starting off the next gen, like they did with the 360.
Yes, I agree. Again, if you're jumping Sony, right? If you know whether it's a year, whether it's 6 months, whatever, if you jump Sony on hardware and you have something, and again, it's not going to be the only thing. It is probably going to be one of at least 3 major pieces to release with this with these new boxes, right? I don't know what those other two are going to be. It could be a new Halo. It could be a new Gears. It could be a smaller title like a Project Mars. I don't know.
Gears,
but could you imagine if you say to the world, here's our launch list for these two new consoles. Let's say everything we've heard are hybrid power console. We got Gear 6, you got Elder Scrolls, and pick another flavor in there. You're going to dominate the conversation. If Sony is not ready to go, you are going to jump them in a big way. And Elder Scrolls is one of those games that the minute you say this is exclusive to this box, and you go out and you just do what they did with Starfield, every time they talk about it, exclusive Xbox, PC, and Xbox Game Pass. And that's all they have to say. Now, people are going to question them. Sure, question them. That's fine. But they'll just keep answering that. And when Sony does not have hardware to be a part of the conversation, no one is going to be talking about them. This is how they damage their grip hold on market leadership. Sorry, that's just what you do. But listen, again, it's opinions, folks. We're not going to get it right, but I think that there's something to be said about making this an exclusive, keeping it that way, even if it's like you said, Umbra, even if it's a timed exclusive. And listen, I'm not getting on that exclusive train. How I feel, I think Xbox needs to be Xbox, and everyone else needs to be themselves. And if you want to play an Xbox game, buy a PC. That's or buy an Xbox. That's my take on it. Yeah, that's my take on it. That's not going to change. But let me catch up on the super chats, and then we're going to move on to the Shattered Space conversation, because I think I don't know who's been keeping their ears to the floor. They've been doing a lot of updates for Starfield. It looks incredible with all the added stuff. But we'll get to that in a hot second. Sir X-Men drops the first super chat of the day. Welcome, brother, and thank you for the generosity. He drops a $2 super chat and says, "I've been saying new lower price games have less bugs." I mean, it certainly seems that way, but I just think just games have bugs. It's just a thing. I mean, it is what it is. Nino Vestek, who has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership, brother. That is very kind of you. Thank you for the generosity. And if you did get that from him, please thank him in the chat. Andre Doyle drops a $2 super chat and says, Elder Scrolls 6, Gear 6, Project Mara for the next Xbox. And that's definitely possible for sure. We have Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Hey, Boom and Gamer Nation. I'm looking forward to the Xbox Partner Showcase tomorrow." Yes, me too. All gamers need to chill. Xbox is going to be fine. You'll see a shift that will blow all gamers away. Their roadmap is bonkers. And tomorrow's show, which, by the way, I'm not doing my own show here in the afternoon. I am guest appearing with Mav on his show that he's going to do. But, of course, that evening, which, of course, is primetime gaming at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself, Kay Asante, Web Dave, and Retri, we're getting invaded by the Gamers Council podcast, along with maybe one other guest. We might get someone else in there to join us. We're going to be reacting to all of the games shown off at the event that's happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just FYI, no show here. I will be co-hosting with Mav on his show, on his channel, on the Mav Speculation Network, because I love what they do over there. And when I'm free during the day, I usually jump in with those guys. But Bold Alpha Wolfpack drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "We've seen how the player base will react if they decide to put exclusives multiplat. Game Pass is the real exclusive. Isn't applicable right now." I mean, I listen. I've been saying that for years, Wolfpack. You've heard me say it here. The real exclusive here is the fact that if you are on PlayStation, you're spending for a game $76.43. If you're an Xbox and it's in Game Pass, you're paying $16.99. It's a tremendous difference. I think you're going to see that rhetoric driven home when Call of Duty drops in the Game Pass, when Black Ops Gulf War drops in the Game Pass this fall, you're going to have a lot of Sony dudes that have been like, wait a second, they just dropped every Call of Duty that I paid for into Game Pass, and the new one is going to cost me $16.99 a month. I'm getting an Xbox or I'm playing on PC. Are they going to abandon their collections? No, they don't have to. The digital library can stay right where it is, but I think that's where it stops. And Sony, like myself, becomes the exclusive box. And they look at Microsoft and they say, oh, wait a second, Xbox has all these games. This is where I'm going. I mean, that's just my hot take on it. But gentlemen, let's bring in Starfield. Let's talk Starfield for a hot second, because this game, Steele, you made mention of it. People can't seem to stop talking about it. So, well, they're talking about it again in an article that comes the way of Philip Galvik. He works for, or he's a writer for, Destructoid. This is one of the places where I pulled the article, and it says this in the lead title: Starfield's Shattered Space DLC may be coming soon. And of course, he asks, will you play it? Well, of course, I'm going to play it. Most people will. But he says this: following its promise of substantial updates and improving Starfield, improvements coming to Starfield in 2024, which they have rolled out, Bethesda has overall been suspiciously quiet on this front. The promised updates are indeed dropping in, which we just said, but there has been absolutely no news on the announced Shattered Space DLC until now, that is. As it currently stands, virtually nothing is known about Starfield Shattered Space, short of the fact that it's supposed to be coming eventually. As this DLC is included as part of the game's premium edition, we do know that the DLC will be the first of the presumably at least several to come out. And with the latest development of Starfield's Steam database, something may be afoot. As per Steam DB's records, a mysterious new unknown app was added to the listing just a few days ago, and it could very well be Shattered Space. Interestingly enough, obviously, gentlemen, there is an event called the Xbox Partner Preview, which is going to show third-party partners games like Capcom and a few others. I don't think, Steele, that this is where you drop this information. Personally, I think that is going to be its own thing when that happens. But the fact that something, I'm thinking June as well. But the fact that something has found its way over to Steam DB and people are now finding it says that DLC may be ready to rock and roll. What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, if the DLC is ready to rock and roll, again, if we've learned anything from Starfield, the longer that they have to polish it, the better. If they're going to involve any more AI into the game, I'm going to need to make sure that they get that right, because that was the number one issue that I had that turned the game from an 8 to almost down to a 4, because some of the issues that I had with the AI, especially my companions, drove me up a wall, whether they were running into walls, falling through floors, not letting me get out of buildings, trapping me, completely breaking missions for me sometimes. Those things just shouldn't exist in a game that has these features in it. So the more time that they have to polish it, the better. But I think me and you are kind of in green as Boone. Like, I would expect it to be more so like a June showcase, or maybe this is the thing that you show after the showcase, kind of like what they did with Starfield previously, or where they showed the 30 minutes of Starfield. I mean, they don't have to show us 30 minutes of the DLC, but you could, if you wanted to, maybe talk about how things have gone since you've released Starfield, some of the new ideas, some of the things that you now want to introduce, what you've learned from the community, since so many people have got their hands on it now. Maybe you do want to add land vehicles in there, and you want to completely change some of the things that originally maybe you thought you didn't need, and now you realize you want to implement. So, but I think doing it during that June time would be so much better. And even if it's that ready to go, then I would even do it as a shadow drop. Maybe that's a special thing that you release that day. Hey, right out. And by the way, after the show, the Starfield DLC is going to be ready to download. You can go ahead and download it afterwards. I think that would be that's a perfect way to announce something, because everybody who's already playing Starfield is probably going to be like, oh, wait, hold up. And then all the other people who maybe put it down, like myself, because again, I put my 150 hours into it, and then I put it down on that after that first playthrough because I was satisfied with it. And I don't like the idea of I took a lot of time building my ship and now I can't have it no more. I don't like the idea of that. Taking things away from me, but nonetheless, it'll give me a reason to jump back in on my last save point before I ended it and say, all right, what does the DLC have me offer? I'll have to offer me, excuse me. And I'll be right back in it from there. So I think that would be the ideal thing to see, again, for them to do something very similar to what they did Starfield originally, right after the June showcase, announce the DLC, talk about what went into the DLC, kind of give us that dev direct kind of feel, because I really like when they do that. I like Todd and the team talking about Starfield because of how they get excited and how energetic they are and how passionate they feel about it. Again, I like all those things. So anytime I get to see any game developer jump into it, but that's the way that I would want to see it happen, though, for sure.
No, I mean, it's a good point. Obviously, if they don't release it before June, which again, obviously
they can wait.
They could, because here's the thing: May is around the corner. Hellblade is early May, right? So middle
of June, release the Starfield DLC. I mean, again, there's a month in between. I think that leaves plenty of time. And why make people wait almost another year to jump back into it? I think releasing it right during the summer, kids are out. You maybe have a little bit more time during the evening. I think that'd be the perfect time to jump into a DLC if they did it that way. I think that'd be perfect.
Well, you know what it's going to do? It's going to drive engagement.
Absolutely.
The minute a DLC launches for a game that has had some time since its original release, people are more inclined to be like, "Whoa, about this game." If some people slept on Starfield, and some people haven't played it, and maybe this will get the conversation happening at the water cooler. And people are like, oh man, that's Starfield. That game is amazing. Oh, Starfield, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and the DLC came out, completely transformed the game. That's what I would like to see.
It's definitely possible. We have here Decided D drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Fallout control design and Xbox Design Lab already ordered mine. Yes, I threw it on the socials. I did order mine as well. I liked almost all of the originals, because normally when they have their design, I leave it. I did change the back to blue. I changed the thumbsticks to blue and the triggers to gold to match the gold on it. It looks dope. I hope they do this with most of their stuff. I want to see more console wraps. I want to see more special edition controllers. The consoles, they don't have to do anymore simply because of the wraps. I hope that there's going to be a Hellblade one. I hope there's going to be a Indiana Jones one, which would be dope if they make it look like ancient. That would be kind of dope. I'd definitely buy that. But yeah, thanks. I actually forgot to mention that. Decided D. Yes, there is a special edition Fallout controller to celebrate the launch of the show. More importantly, and that is in Design Labs. You can go and design your own right now, and obviously they have this, the cover which you can use and you can build around it. If you go to my Twitter handle, you see what mine looks like. I have a front and back view of it. But Infinite Umbra, let's get your hot take on the Shattered Space DLC. You put a significant amount of time into Starfield. Are you excited to jump back into it? And do you think that they're because I think the way that Steele talked about it is actually perfect. You wait for the June show, which, listen, folks, look. Yeah. The whole inside thing, I'm not an insider. I get messages, some stuff, most of the stuff I don't even pay attention to because it's ridiculous. There are one or two people that I speak to, and I mean it's like one or two people that I'm like, yep, I heard. I am telling you this right now. From the two people that I actually trust, this June show is going to be bananas. And that's all I can give you. I don't know much past that, but I said the show that they're building right now is going to be incredible, and it might be one of the best shows we've ever seen. And I keep saying that, like, last year's show was good and the year before was amazing. This might be one of those shows that's even better than what we've ever had before, and that's because they have so many games in development. We're gonna see some things. I do. I know one or two things. I am not at liberty to tell you what those are, because they were told to me in confidence. But I'm telling you right now, the June show is going to be bananas. I think you add potential Umbra. Hey, Shattered Space DLC. Here's the trailer available now. I love it. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm not sure what time zone, or not time zone, what time like they would release the DLC, the expansion. I'm thinking probably in the fall still. For some reason, I don't know. I don't feel like they would do it in the summer, but because it seems like the premium time would be again around September or something like that. I'm not
like
sure
the
how
1 year anniversary that they can tap.
Yeah, it could.
That's what I'm thinking now. But regardless, when they do it, they definitely want to drum up some support for it first. So that's partly why I think it, because that's Bethesda style. They'll typically give it 3 months or 4 months before they bring out something. So June, they might say something about it, and then
tease it,
yeah, September or November they bring it out. That makes more sense to me. But either way they do it, for my own personal excitement, yeah, I'm very excited. First off, I still have some achievements to get. I didn't finish off the achievements because I had to move on to grab other games to get on. You know what I mean? Because I had, like you said, I put in so much time into that world that it was like, okay, I got to go play something else now. It's too many things out here that I haven't gotten a chance to get to. And after a point, it feels like a chore because you got so many good games to get into last year. That's what it was, right? But this has a lot of potential because it's one faction. If you all have played it and got into it the way I did, and I'm sure you guys did, there was one house that there's one house that we didn't really get into a chance to delve too deep into, and that's the House of Varun.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
yeah, that's the one that speculated that they might focus on here. So that'll be cool to see how they handle that.
And as you get further into the game, you find out there's even more behind the scenes that could be possibly going on. So that it's the fact that it's called Shattered Space it's extremely interesting for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And so you have a lot of ways they can go with that. What I would hope that they do, seeing how they're still doing quality of life things and they're still adding different new features, et cetera, is to do what we had kind of critiqued before Boom. If you remember, we were talking about how they don't have like rovers, for instance, that
land vehicles, for instance, is a freaking must. I'm sorry, it's just too much jumping around. I agree.
Either that or make the jetpacks give you other abilities to make the jetpack even faster. Give you forward momentum, because there were some tricks and stuff that you could do to kind of finesse that forward momentum. And that's what I would do all the time, and I didn't really mind it. But yeah, we need some other thing. If you want me to rely on this jetpack, I need some additional movement mechanics for sure.
Yep, and because the thing about it is when you land on these planets to do what you do, there are plenty of other spots in that planet. It's like it's never ending that you could go and check out. For instance, right? They could theoretically, it depends on them. I know it's all procedurally generated on the other areas they go to, but they could say here it's a finite number of whatever that you do on this planet. But this rover here will help you get to all of those. I think that'll help the pacing, because a lot of the spots on the planet, I'm pretty sure most of us didn't say, I'm going to go check that out over there. That's 1,200 and whatever meters away or whatever. Some of us are kind of like, nah, I got what I came for. I'm out. So I think if they kind of curtail that by giving us a way to traverse the land easier, that would be a step in the right direction. You look at, and I look at this as kind of like in a sense, a live service in that way, where you have to give us reasons to keep coming back, because it's a single player story. You have to have something that draws everybody back in. And after you put so much time into it, it's kind of like, okay, I've done everything I need to do. You got to give me something else now, right? I'll add another, like what I want and what I hope too is, if we're talking about things like that, is for instance, when you did, a lot of people had issues, and I kind of did too for my own reasons. When you build out outposts and things like that, it's kind of limited. It's not as in depth as we would want it.
Yeah, I never stuff.
You remember they were talking about, you could build your home here on a planet and all that. Like, but it's real.
It's not that deep.
It's not that deep. You know, I would hope they go further into it, and they've done that in other games, so we know they can do that. For instance, they had the DLC what was it? The Ori, I believe it was. Was it the Ori or the Ori? What do they call that thing? No, not that one. It was Hearthfire.
Oh,
okay.
Hearthfire allowed you where you can expand and build your own house and things of that nature. That's what I think they need to go into that, right? Allow for something like that where you can go more in depth in building your own base or your house or whatever it may be, to really pull you in. I think stuff like that is part of what the modding community absolutely helped past Elder Scrolls games with. So I think they can do something like that. Obviously, too, we still have to get the modding tools put all in. All of that didn't happen yet. So it's like so much more that's untouched with this game, unfortunately.
And I think they're trying to decide how to handle that because it's so touchy. So many people, because there's so many licensed things that like mods and stuff that people want to do. And then it's like, how do you implement the mods on there that people want and then give it a library? And then I think there was a thing about them possibly charging for mods. So it's just like, so what's up with that? So I agree with you. Yeah, we definitely need to hear more about that.
Yep, and then too, the last one I would say, and this is what CD Projekt Red. This is why they became so beloved to so many people, and to me in particular. They treated their expansions as good as, if not better, than the main story.
Yeah,
everyone talks about Blood and Wine being better than the game.
Yeah, Blood and Wine and what's the other one? Heart of Stone. Both of those are so well done. Like, I love the way I played it, by the way. Like, I did the main story, but then before I got to a point, I deviated and went to that world and stuff like that. And I saved, of course, Blood and Wine for the end because that's a retirement basically for Geralt, right? And so I loved how I played it, but I love how CD Projekt Red handled that, and they treated it with the respect it deserves. You didn't half-ass that. So I think if Bethesda, and I'm not saying they would half-ass, but I want them to go all out. Don't half-step. Give us something like you've given us before, like for instance with Shivering Isles. I still remember that. Oblivion is still on my Mount Rushmore, remember? So Shivering Isles is high up there because I think it's one of the best expansions they've ever done. Give us stuff like that that's memorable with this Shattered Space DLC or whatever expansion. Don't give us something that's like little the House of Varun.
It's got to be like a meaty bite. Like
give us something exactly. Pause. Give us something. I'm glad I caught that before I kept going. But yeah, like give us something that keeps us.
Wait a minute, it would have been worth if I said a meaty mouthful. Boys, holy cow, rated X.
Listen, but yeah, give us something and a real reason to say, hey, I need to jump back into this. And some of that has to be, again, quality of life fixes, such as having a rover vehicles or something that we can roam around with, stuff like that. But I do fully expect them to go that route and give us some good stuff. So I'm excited for it for sure. I just like I said, I have to get those achievements, and I'm going to get the achievements for the DLC. So it is what it is. Like they got me. I'm already unlocked. You see, but now that brings up another question too. How are they going to handle the expansion or DLC? Is it going to be just come a part of as far as Game Pass? I don't think it will. I'm thinking they're going to charge for that separately, right? So now, what's the pricing for that?
I would imagine would be if they do charge for it. I would imagine it could be discounted because of Xbox Game Pass. I don't know. That's an interesting theory because, well, I mean, we already paid for it. If you bought the deluxe edition, that was $100. You already paid for it. So, what it says to me, and I think you're onto something, that when it does release, it is going to be sold separately. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with that. You got the full game, which depending on whether you put 5 hours or 500 hours in your Xbox Game Pass subscription. Now, obviously, your mileage may vary based on how much time you put in. But if you got this, let's say, for instance, I mean, again, value is in the eye of the beholder. We all know that. If you got to play this game through Game Pass and you paid your $15 or your $17 and you put 500 hours in and they're asking you for $30 for the DLC. I think that this goes right back to everything that Steele said earlier. People are more inclined to spend the money because you technically didn't buy the game at full boat, right? Now, is it right? Is it wrong? Well, that's up to you folks. That's up to you whether you decide it is. For me, I'm already in the bag because I bought the $100 edition. In fact, I bought the collector's edition that came with the watch, so I'm in. But that's an interesting. If I had to take a stab at it, I would say it's probably going to be sold separately, and it makes sense. You're probably, if you have Game Pass, get a 10% discount off of it, and that's at least my take on it.
Yeah, and because I think about that when it comes to other things too, like them bringing WoW over and everything, and people are like, well, how are they going to handle it as far as subscriptions? Things of that nature. So it's a lot of different things they're going to have to address. But I think Shattered Space will be charged. Of course, I don't think it'll be part of the Game Pass. It's going to be more of a premium experience. But I just hope they go all out. I just hope this not go all out, but I hope it's like, as we said before, pause, but a media experience.
Whoa. As long as it's not flappy, I think we're good. It's all good.
Yeah, I hope they,
man.
I hope they make it worthwhile. Don't give us something that's like really too like.
Give us something erect.
Yeah, I'm about to say
pause. Hello. How you doing there, fella?
Give us something that's too small. Pause.
Whoa! Holy moly! This is so you're saying it has to have girth, is what you're saying?
Yes. It has to have some value to it.
Pause.
This is outrageous. Where are we going on this? I don't understand. But look, again, folks. I think Pong Soul's in the chat. Pong, what's going on, brother? Welcome, man. If you're I saw people yelling out Pong's name, and hopefully he is here. I'm not speaking to the ether. Pong, welcome back, brother. Love, we miss you here for sure. 1,000%. Look, gentlemen, we got about a little under half an hour to go. I would be not a good host if I didn't talk about some of the big news that came out of yesterday. That is the Xbox preview, or the partner preview, that has been announced for tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is, look, what's interesting, gentlemen? This is a third-party show. This is not going to have anything first-party in there. I do not expect anything to be announced for first-party. It's a third-party partner show. It has already piqued my interest just based on a few of the games that look incredibly dope, 2 of which are coming into Xbox Game Pass. That, to me, already it's a giant W. There are going to be other games here. It's going to be 30 minutes. They're going to show a lot of games. How many games? 12, 15. I don't know. We're going to find out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which, again, give you a reminder, I'm going to be hanging out with Mav on his show, and we're going to be covering it live on the Mav Fun Speculation Network. But, gentlemen, we know, thanks to Mike Nelson, who is the Xbox Wire editor, and he wrote this piece yesterday where it says Xbox Partner Preview, we're back with fresh looks at games for Xbox and Windows. Now, a few of the games that he has here in his write-up, Steele, he says this: during the Xbox Partner Preview, you could learn more about the combat and traversal of a game that I think is going to be in the Game of the Year freaking conversation. I haven't played the demo, but I've watched it, and it looks even more amazing than I could want. And that is Tales of Kenzera. That game looks dope. So far, not in Xbox Game Pass. My hope for this single developer, who you've seen him out in the socials, his story is beautiful. You read it, he talks about it. This is personal. He has put his personal beliefs into a game. Amazing, right? I hope he gets a bag from Microsoft and this gets in the Game Pass. Not because I want to get it for free. I already bought it. The minute he put it out there, so it's available for pre-order, I pre-ordered it. And you know something? I will let the pre-order go through because I am, quote unquote, supporting the devs. He's a small dev. He's a single person that made this game. It's going to be big. It's getting spotlighted on a big stage. I couldn't be happier for that developer. So we also have here, and Steele, this seems like right up your alley, sir. The Path of the Goddess by Capcom, another confirmed game in Xbox Game Pass. Single player, yes, but it looks really good, man. It looks dope, and it's Capcom. They don't seem to miss. And one other one, which people have been talking this up, Steele, is the first Berserker Kazan. That game looks freaking dope AF. Now, mind you, this is just tip of the spear. What else are they going to show? What are your expectations? Because these are three big games that are the cat's out of the bag. What are you expecting else to be there?
Man, what else to be there? That is always going to be the biggest question. And as for me, for it to be a second and third party deal. Just seeing Path of the Goddess on one, because of I didn't get to play Onimusha back in the day, and I still haven't up to this day. And hearing that it has some of those styles in it, from what people have been telling me, is extremely interesting. Because again, people don't know, I'm an extremely combat oriented dude. Whether it be Devil May Cry, whether it be Black Desert Online, whether it be Final Fantasy's remake, as an example, combat is always a special thing for me. And to see how they presented it, at least in the trailer that they showed us previously, has me extremely interested in what else is going to be presented in the game. What is the game going to be? I know I was listening to Mav and the guys talk about it a little bit last night, and they were saying there's some strategy involved in it, along with the action combat nature of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And the first Berserker is definitely another one that is highly on my list. Again, as a Souls fan, as the guy that likes to beat his head against the wall when it comes to bosses and difficult fights. And I say that. I mean, it's just, I say that because that's how most people come to understand them. I don't look at them myself that way, but that has me extremely interested, especially for DNF itself. That's Dungeon Fighters. I don't have any per se knowledge of the IP previously, but I do know that they have a fighter that's out right now called DNF that is actually supposedly pretty good. So seeing that they're reaching further into that IP, this is something that I've wanted BlazBlue to do, or Blaze Blue as I call it, to do for quite some time with Ragnar the Blood Edge. Give me your IP, center it around a central character, and give me that third person over the shoulder, or not even over the shoulder, but give me that third person action goodness that I like to see. Make it more over the top, because that's what gets people to kind of realize, oh, this was the kind of game. Or even if you did it with Guilty Gear, I think Guilty Gear is another one of those that should have those style of games about it, so you can really introduce people to these really dope characters. It doesn't have to be Goku every time, or it doesn't have to be Naruto every time. It that is annoying to me. Why can't we reach in the bag and get some Bleach and get Ichigo involved, to get One Piece involved, get all these other characters involved anyway? So those are definitely my main takeaways. Other than that, I want to see what else Xbox is going to do for their second and third party deals. Again, I like to go back to 2022, the year that everybody said was a fail for Xbox because of first party. They were strong second and third party wise, and only continued to get even better year over year. I think on a previous show, I had stated that I think it was in 2022, they did like $7,000 in Game Pass, or either way, it was like $2,000 that they go up every year as far as value goes in the Game Pass. And if they continue that trajectory, there's just no telling what could come in here. So if we're talking about anything that's coming here recent, I'm trying to go scroll through a list of games that could be possibly coming out that they might want to tease. I think Dragon's Dogma may be a little too big to kind of tease in there.
I thought about that for a second, Steel, and I said, you know something? It would be...
I'd be crazy.
It would shake the industry at its core, but I'm kind of with you. I think it's kind of too big.
Maybe some of the Star Wars stuff you could throw in there. It's just, for me, I think what drives me up the wall with a lot of these things, not in a bad way, but more so just with curiosity, because it seems like we get to these, especially events like this, and we get told more about games that we didn't even know about previously, or we get told about games that have been in development for quite some time, and maybe they were shown to a year to 2 years ago, and then boom, you get it in here, and you're like, oh man, what if Elden Ring comes to Game Pass because the DLC is dropping?
Dude.
Right? That was a tease that we were getting previously. We're like, oh, Elden Ring might come to Game Pass. Who knows? There's these rumors and all this other stuff. It would be perfect timing.
Can I add context to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you know, and maybe people did know, or they didn't know, they have the marketing. They had the marketing for Elden Ring. They have the marketing for the DLC. I like what you're putting down. Could you imagine if they come up on stage and be like, hey, FYI, Elden Ring, one of the best games of last year, here you go. And it drops into Xbox Game Pass?
Man.
Dude.
That would cause a major resurgence in everybody that was maybe questioning it. And Elden Ring already did astronomical for it being the style of game that it is. Yes, I mean, and I don't even like limiting it to that because it's up there with sales of your known IP. Again, Spider-Man, God of War, like it's above that even. So it's like, if they were able to do that and the timing would just be so right, especially with the DLC right around the corner, there's people that are literally right now, everybody that was making content for Elden Ring previously when the game came out, are now again jumping back in, creating more builds because they're trying to get ready for the DLC. So everybody that maybe, and I'll be honest with you guys, now is a better time than ever because they definitely made it a bit easier than it was day one. Boy, I'm glad y'all don't have to deal with Radon the way that he was day one. Because he was
interesting. I beat every boss in the game except for that last flying dinosaur MF. I beat every boss in that game except for that. And I could beat the first form, no problem. I almost killed the last form. It was like
the dragon's crazy. Yeah.
He flies so far. If you're saying that they've made it easier, I'm not going to front. I'm going to try and I have to pick up and play and learn.
Which enemy is this? Well, Lord
the final enemy,
the final boss in Elden Ring. I beat every boss in the game. Radon, no
the
problem.
glowing dinosaur.
The Loch Ness monster prick.
I call it Loch Ness monster / whale. I couldn't stand that stupid thing. I had all the way killed, right? Energy all gone, literally nothing in the health bar. It did a ridiculous moves back to back to back. Like, nah, you're gonna die here. That's basically what they told me. And I tried my best to avoid it, and they got me. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Pragmatic was making a point. Wolong was certified fire, and more people didn't play it because it's too hard for most. Wolong was also very dependent on parrying, and not everybody likes parrying. Although I will still say that Wolong is probably the easiest Souls game out of all of them, just because of how generous the parrying time is and how generous just the game is overall. What makes Elden Ring different is it's not a stage-based game or an area-based game. It's open world. You can walk away from a fight and come back later. That is extremely attractive for a lot of people because like my brother Pong says, he's not the soul. He likes the games and whatnot, but the idea of banging your head against the wall on one boss, and you have to beat this boss to move on, can be annoying to a lot of people. Lies of P, and P brings that up in chat. Lies of P, I would say, is right up there with Sekiro as far as difficulty goes.
Yeah.
If you do not have the patience, if you do not want to learn the game, the timing, the parrying, it is not going to be fun for you. But Elden Ring, it just gives you so much versatility. The options, magic is more powerful than it's ever been in a Souls game. You just have so much versatility in Elden Ring. It made it so accessible. That dropping into Game Pass, if that was one of the things that they announced here, especially with the seemingly healthy relationship that they have with FromSoft right now, that would, bro, between that and Armor Core, if they were able to do both and then Elden Ring DLC drops right over the horizon, I'm talking about where it's gonna be insanity. It's gonna be insanity.
Listen, I like what you're putting down. Real quick, Pete in the chat says, and I expect this to be there, Pete. Flintlock.
Yeah, talk about Flintlock.
Freaking dope. I'm sorry. Every time I've seen that game, holy shit! I am very excited for that.
Right for that.
Again, these we're just speculating here, right? We don't know, but I think what Steel is putting down may actually come to fruition. The DLC is about to launch for Elden Ring. It was one of the most popular and sought after games in the year it released. The game is far enough along where it could, in fact, get a Game Pass release and get people to buy the DLC. That would be the whole point. It would be a W for both Bandai Namco and, of course, Xbox. Everyone would win there. You get the game in Game Pass. You get more people to subscribe because, oh shit, Elden Ring's in Game Pass, and you get people to buy the DLC because, oh shit, Elden Ring's in Game Pass. Let's get your hot take on this Infinite Number before we get on out of here. Are you expecting anything as big as potentially Elden Ring to get there?
Not as big, but I do expect something two things actually that we hadn't heard from in a while that I'm sure people have been like, wait a minute, what happened to this? Because that's what I thought. One being Octopath Traveler 2.
Yeah,
that's another good one, dude. Yes,
you heard about that supposed to happen in the winter, right? So winter is officially over in Chicago is kind of different beast. We just had 70-degree weather and it switched back to 40 on us.
Oh, goodness.
This morning, but with rain at that. But spring is near. It's coming up soon. So when are we going to hear about that? I think this is a good time for that. So that's one. Octopath Traveler 2. Now they just had some issue where they had to be delisted off Nintendo.
That was a mistake, sure. I heard Rand and Jez Corden talking about that. Now I can't confirm that it was a mistake, but it's still up on Xbox.
Okay.
And the company that made that game was actually just purchased and acquired by Square Enix.
Gotcha.
So I think that the listing might have been a mistake. The delisting came the way of the Nintendo Switch version, not the Xbox. Now, I don't know about the PlayStation version. Anyone can go check real quick, see if it's delisted. I think that might have been
Nintendo that was affected.
Yeah.
But yeah, that said, Octopath Traveler 2 is one of them that I hope that they say something about. Now, it has not been confirmed for Game Pass yet. Unfortunately, it's not a part of it, but that could be one that they nail down with Square and say, hey, can we get this in there and, give them the, fill their pockets with the change they need and get that into Game Pass. To me, that would be wise. I love part 1, put in over 250 hours into that game. I'm not even the biggest turn-based fan. I'm just not. And I loved that game. It's just the charm of it is, man, it brought me back to the old, I guess, to the Super Nintendo days and stuff like that visually. Just beautiful sound to it. I love the characters. I love the power attacks, all that. I think that would be one that they would bring to it. Now, that's why I say
Octopath Traveler 1 was in Game Pass.
It was, yeah. And which is why I found it so dumb that they didn't bring part 2 over, because it did well according to their own statements. They were like, it did well, blah blah blah. Xbox, it could have been just car, but typically Square will tell you flat out it did not meet expectations. So I don't know, you know what I mean? Square will tell you, hey, this didn't do what we wanted it to do. So I feel like if they said that, they meant it. But that's cool. That's what I want to see. At least one I want to have that confirmed, and if they bring it to Game Pass, even bigger W. Yeah. The second one I'll throw out there, because it's still been, like, wait a minute, when are we getting this? Hollow Knight, Silk Song.
Oh, dude, that's a big one. Holy crap, that would be huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that one is already confirmed for Game Pass.
Yes,
however,
confirmed.
It's just been kind of floaty on when we're expecting to get it. We just don't know. So that would be nice to see that and get a date confirmed for that. And maybe if they can give us a demo or something like that, that'd be cool. So, but something like that, I would like to see both of those shown, because I don't think they're going to show anything that's too major. As dope as it will be to get the Shadow of the Erd tree in there, I don't think they'll go that route. And
no, but
I know they're going to make money hand over fist.
Dude, they're going to make so much money. It's
not the DLC. No,
just Elden Ring.
Just
Elden
the game.
Alone.
The game itself.
About just the game itself. Okay.
Yes, because it's almost 3 years at this point. Because it came out in 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
No, I mean the game itself. No, the DLC you paying for that full price.
Right. Okay.
But if we can if I can give you the base game, at least for everybody else, because at this point, Elden Ring has definitely hit its peak. Now it can go back up again for sure, but I think it will make it much more enticing and just cause that the same effect that happened when it released, I think could happen again if you put it in Game Pass. All that hype gets regenerated, all the content gets regenerated, because Elden Ring was a content monster when it released.
Sure the heck was.
And I think the DLC is going to cause that to happen again. it dropping the Game Pass. I think it would just be, like, to Boom's point earlier, I think it'd just be such a boon for both parties. And I know somebody in chat was mentioning that Sony has stock in them. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that they can't cut a deal. If there's only one platform that's offering a service and they're going to drop us a little bit of a bag more than what we're getting right now on our sales for the game itself, why not? If we know we're going to blow it out of the water with the DLC,
right?
again.
And Katakawa still has controlling power. It's not like Sony
overall.
Them. Exactly. So no, I agree with you there. But no, that would actually be either way. Getting Elden Ring into Game Pass is a W for sure. But I think I felt like, I guess the way I looked at it, because it sold so well, I felt like most people who were going to play it have played it, right?
Yeah.
But or have it or already. So I don't know, but I think it definitely would. It's going to be a positive. It's not going to be a negative if they get it. So
right.
But it definitely, if those who didn't get it can play that and experience it and say, hey, I'm going to get this DLC too. That's a W all around. But I would, if I had to place my bets, I would have put it around something like I said, with Octopath Traveler 2, because we haven't heard anything about that, and they said we would hear it would be in the winter. And I'm going to throw out Silk Song because that's what I want. I've been waiting for that.
Been waiting.
I'm waiting to play with old Silk
Everybody's
Song.
waiting for that. Yeah.
What's the name of that character? The one that you play as? I forgot. But yeah, her with the needle and all that. I'm waiting to get back into that world. And that's a Souls-like in a way too, by the way.
It's got its difficulty for sure. But if people have been waiting for that. The fact that was announced for Game Pass was a big deal. I mean, like a super, really big deal.
Absolutely. So that would be my 2. As far as the Tales of Kanzara, I played that through on the ROG. Boom, that was pretty dope. And I, like you said, the brother who talked about it and gave us experience with his family, his father, and everything.
There's so much to this game that just makes you smile. Look, let me tell you something. Okay, I don't care where you're from. You hear this guy's story. As a good human, you should just be smiling from ear to ear. He has told his story in a game, and he has. It's like I said, just watch the interview with that guy. If you don't smile, check your pulse, man. You might be dead, honestly. I just think that being there, listen, whether it gets into Game Pass or not, the fact that it's on a big stage like that, well deserved. Cannot wait to see. Cannot wait to play that game. Can't wait to see what the traversal is going to look like, how it's going to feel. Because I stayed away from the demo. I could have played it. I don't want to. I want to see it with fresh eyes on my console. But
I enjoyed it for what it was worth it. And again, I love Metroidvania, so it's a Metroidvania style game. So if you like those, you will like this. Visually, it's really pretty. It has that color palette of an Ori style kind of color palette to it. Definitely rooted in like the lore, folklore of Afrocentricity, which is a dope thing for me. I like it a lot. It was really dope to me. And they do a little different things with how you attack and do attacks and powers and stuff like that. I liked it. As far as what's it? What is it? Kunutsugami.
I just said Path of the Goddess. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. I can. Let me stop trying to do the old extra Kunutsukan and all that. Okay. Path of the Goddess.
Let me get the name. I got you. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess looks dope. That, however, I'm still weird, like kind of, what are they gonna go with that? I'm not too sold on that just yet. It does look interesting, just not sold on it yet. First Berserker Kazan, though, I was excited for that before they even actually showcased it at that. What show was that on? The VGAs? I forget where they showed it, but that looks good just from images I saw. Shout out to Idle Sloth who had posted it, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, this looks good. So I'm actually really excited for that. I think that's going to be dope. And then now we're, of course, hearing that Path of Exile 2 will be there, which, again, if we're talking about genres I love, you got the first.
A lot of people saying that in the chat. They expect that to be there as possibly as well.
Yeah, that's what they're saying in this press release here. So you got my first-person shooters, you got the action adventures, you got the Metroidvanias, and then you have this one here, was just an ARPG. I'm all for it. I want to see how that looks from Path of Exile 1. It was already crazy with this. We were talking about the builds still earlier about that. Path of Exile, I think, is a whole different level.
It is different. It's a different beast, bro. It's a different beast.
Yeah. So I'm absolutely excited to see all of that. And he had hell, an even bigger W if they can get that into Game Pass. I don't think that'll be the case, but that would be dope. So yeah, I'm excited for those. But I don't think they'll give us anything that's too crazy for the partner preview, but I would love to be wrong. I hope they give us something crazy. I just hope
I think this is going to be something special. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are already getting a preview of some of the games that are going to be there. Every one of the games that we know are going to be there are huge. Now, maybe they're not for everyone, but not every game is for every gamer. But the fact that most of what we're talking about is already confirmed for Game Pass, and you have something like a Flintlock that's been delayed several times. Now it looks like it's releasing this year. This is a great place for it. Maybe you get a shadow drop. Hey, it's available today. I know that there was some information that we didn't talk about regarding Game Pass, the Control, the Game of the Year edition dropping into Game Pass, MLB The Show dropping into Xbox Game Pass, bunch of stuff. Look, I mean, I don't get a quarter every time I say Xbox Game Pass. I wish I did, because then I would be rich. I talk about it a lot not because I'm, in the pocket of Xbox. I'm in the pocket of consumers. We come out here, we put these shows on, and we try to tell you, hey, listen, consumer, stop falling for the okie doke that Sony's giving you the $76.43 for everything they put out there. They charge you for everything. Once you just check out Xbox Game Pass, you might like something in there. And one thing leads to two, and two things leads to four. And after that, you're like, holy crap, there are all these games in here. I don't have time to play. But look, folks, this has been a solid 2 hours, 4 topics, 3 gentlemen here, including myself, and of course, my nephew, who opened up the show for us. That was pretty dope. My wife taped it, so we're going to have it for the rest of our lives. And of course, thank you to all the super chats. Oh, we had one just pop in here. Let me get who that is. That is the Gamers Play Hud Zero, who drops an additional, very generous $2 super chat and says, by the way, where the heck is Silk Song? Yeah, we were just talking about that, dude. That's the one that everyone wants, and I think that it could very well show up there. But listen, folks, big thank you. We had over 600 people here today. It's miserable. It's raining. Hopefully today's show brightened your day, whether you're home, whether you're at work, whether you're on the long road, hauling some stuff. Hopefully we took 2 hours away from your day to have some laughs, to have some thoughts and some theories, some pointed conversation. Let's get to the outros, folks. And we'll start first with Steel Rain, one half of the dynamic duo known as Living Split Screen. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Him and Ponsole do a 2, 3, sometimes even 4-hour show to start your Saturday off. Brother, sell your brand.
Yeah, man, Broom. Well, at this point, I think we've set the standard that we do at least 3 hours plus. I don't know how that happened, but we're live, raw, and uncut for all the time that we are live, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely come check us out there on that road to 3K. But of course, it's going to have to come with a lot of content dropping out there. So we'll see how things play out. Life always keeps things interesting. So definitely keeping that in mind. But definitely come check us out. Hit the like button on over there and sub if you can. But other than that, you can find me on the streets of X, otherwise known as Twitter, under the handle of Steel Rain I. The T is a 7 everywhere. And matter of fact, if it's easier, just type that on in Google and you'll find all my information there, whether it be YouTube, Twitter, gaming. It doesn't matter where. I have the same name everywhere. So definitely hit me up. Saturdays, Live a Split Screen. Check us out there. But every Tuesday, right here with Mr. BoomStick XL himself, it's the Xbox Factor podcast. And we're always bleeding green over here, baby. So appreciate the conversation today, gentlemen. Always needed and much appreciated. And I love the opinions and chat. With nothing without you guys, and you guys were just lit. Yeah. Love the opinions, and I love everything. Love the energy that you guys bring. So much love.
Thank you. And real quick, Raymond Haverfield says, don't forget Warhammer 40K bolt gun. Play that freaking game. It is old school Doom and Quake. It is absolutely amazing. You'll start it and you will not be able to stop. It is astoundingly good. Another Xbox Game Pass drop today. Just crazy. Infinite Number, let's sell your brand of the fix. Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You, Danny, and sometimes a guest get together to talk about, well, gaming. Sometimes there's movie talk. Sometimes there's, Marvel is doing their thing. But for the most part, if you want some of the best and hot off the presses information that you can find on Thursday evenings, definitely check out the fix. Umbra, sell the brand, dude.
Extra, read all about it. No, I'm joking. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. First off, thank you too for holding us down. Boom, you doing your thing as always, and being as I called you, the blueprint for everybody else with all these shows. Everybody
Thank
now
you,
is
kind
like,
sir.
I gotta put on 8 shows a week. I'm like, boom, damn you. No, I'm joking. But seriously, shout out to you because I don't know how you do it. I've said it before. I'm like, I don't know how you keep coming up with these things to make sure you speak on, but you do it and you do it well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in all due respect. Still, of course, brother, you already know you hold it down and do your thing. And what I respect most about you is besides your good takes on things, is that you don't get swayed by others' opinions on something. If you feel a way about it, you feel a way, right?
Yeah.
As everybody should, man. Except you got to be willing to listen at the same time, right?
Absolutely. And that's where we got to come to the point of agreeing to disagree. That's fine.
Exactly.
We don't always have to agree, but I can appreciate everybody at least handling it respectfully and saying, hey, this is how I feel on it. And that's cool. That's we should not be an echo chamber. So I appreciate that personally. And to the chat family, thank you guys for being here and holding us down. And I would hope that you all would come by to fix and grace us with your presence there as well. It's on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern on my channel.
Yep.
Myself, Daniel McGee, and like Boom said, sometimes just us. Sometimes we'll bring in a guest or two, people as well. And I'm trying to grab other people that you might not know as well to get their voices too. And I do want to try to experiment and try to get some of the the community in and to talk with you guys on things too. Because again, I look at it like I am not special in any regard when it comes to talking about anything. I'm just a gamer, and I'm going to give my view on it as a gamer. So I'll try to give an informed view, but I'm not always right. So, don't take me as somebody that's trying to be a de facto right man. I'm giving my thoughts on something. I can be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong and being corrected. So all of you guys' voices are needed too, the way I look at it. So I don't put myself on a pedestal when it comes to that, though Pong still might disagree and say I'm egotistical, but I disagree with him.
Your brothers are funny.
No, but shout out to the chat. Thank you guys again. Come by, of course, on Twitter as well, Twitter X. You'll find me Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. And that's it. And see you guys later. Good show.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you to all of the super chats and channel memberships that continue to come into the show each and every day that we do the shows live. We obviously use these to make the show better, whether it's intros, whether it's artwork, whether it's overlays, whether it's the actual equipment that help us run, whether it's the programs that help us build the things in the background. That is something that you fine folks do for us. But more importantly, it allows Mrs. Boom and I to do the big giveaways. And we announced just the other day, folks, and this is something that very little channels do. And again, we're not jumping on a pedestal here. We do it because we're blessed. We're blessed with an audience that's very generous. And we have, when we built this channel, it was all about giving back. So just for another, and I'm going to continue to talk about it as we get close to the end of the year. Last year, we gave away during our 6th annual. It was the 6th it was the 6th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. We gave away $1,500 in 2 hours. Well, we have upped the ante again, folks, and we are giving away $2,000 this December. We don't know exactly what the prizes are going to be. They're going to be digital prizes. We don't know the amounts just yet. We're going to try and figure that out, but we have upped the ante by $500. So $2,000 in 2 hours we're giving away for just being in the chat. Channel membership members are going to get first crack at the first 10 prizes, and the second half of those prizes will go to anyone that's in the chat. And again, we do that based on the generosity of the people. And because you folks have been so generous, we've been able to tuck a little extra money away, and we're going to use it for that. We also have 3 other big contests coming. We'll be talking about towards the end of the year as well. And we're gonna cross a threshold of $3,500 plus this year, and we can't do any of that without the generosity that continues to come in. So a big thank you to everyone that has done that. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. Take care.